those who may have had the benefit of education and have been within the white collar, what people would normally refer to as the bourgeois in South Africa. Zuma was a very ordinary person, hardly had formal education, and so he managed to climb on the shoulders of popularity to become the president. Now, that much has not happened. So once ANC has not been able to deliver the kind of economic salvation that the people want, people will begin to lose faith in them. Zuma's popularity had not gone down. Then you have, what do you call him? This young guy, Malema, coming up to also drive on his popularity, continue to criticize basically everybody in ANC, that the ANC was not pursuing the agenda that they set for themselves, and that there must be full liberation and then blacks. So he also took a bit of the cake from the ANC. So basically ANC is blowing up, is getting people go off because they now have to have a new identity, a new agenda, but now they are not fighting apartheid. They are fighting economic hardship. And so it must now show itself ready to give South Africa the kind of economic liberation that they need. And that had been the challenge the ANC is battling with. Unfortunately, the ANC is also not able to fight corruption within itself. And so persons after persons who go into leadership are accused of being corrupt. Zuma himself was not spared that accusation, and then he had to go to prison for it. So whilst it is unable to provide that economic paradise for the South Africans, it is also not able to fight corruption from within. So the persons who probably may have struggled to fight for that liberation now sit back and it's like, we wasted our lives for nothing, and we have our own people who are behaving like the white people who have dominated us over the period. And so you now have people grouping around their interest. So Zuma is able to now mobilize these people along tribal lines. And don't forget, South Africa, tribal issues that's why Inkatha Freedom Party is still surviving. So there are issues of tribal. So now people are mobilizing along tribal lines and interests. So Malema is now using the youth. Now, ANC at some point will be left with its own size. And if it doesn't move away from its elitist way of doing things, and now look, they are in alliance with the Democratic Alliance and forming a government. Basically, the traditional ANC people have moved out, and they've gone into alliance with new people. So it loses its own objective as a political party because of the kind of alliances they are going. Because if you go into such political alliance, you need to make compromises. And those compromises may not represent the ideology and ideals of the ANC. And I'm not surprised they are going where they are going. Now, Jacob Zuma's issue is that the elections were rigged, and that my concern now is whether or not an action out of South Africa will be binding on South Africa as a country. Because Ghana, for instance, the constitution is the supreme law of the country. And so if for any reason issues are internal, and you probably, there's a point where litigation ends. It ends with the Supreme Court. So if beyond the South African Supreme Court, any audience with any court, international or whatever, would be binding on South Africa, well, I'm yet to know. I have not read the South African Constitution to know. Because if you go to seek redress in an international court, would their decision be binding on South Africa such that it can lead to the removal? I'm not sure that is possible. I don't think so. Because of sovereignty. Yeah, so they may make pronouncement, but it will not bind on South Africa. So if they don't trust the judicial system, then they should forget it. Otherwise, they should seek redress. in the South African Supreme Court and see what the judges will say. But you see, it is becoming a problem that people are now not trusting the judiciary, because the judiciary is the last resort for everybody. Very ordinary people who believe that their rights may have been trampled upon would always want to run to the judiciary for them to do what they are supposed to do. Just interpret the law the way it is and apply it.
Yeah.
So when people begin to question how the judiciary is interpreting the law, it leaves people with no option than to apply the law by themselves. And that will be distasteful because it will create a lot of chaos for any society. And so we expect that the judiciary should live beyond reproach. Yeah, they are humans. That's a human institution. You expect to have people disagreeing. But it is not for any reason that beyond the High Court, you don't just have one judge sitting, except in exceptional cases where you may have just one judge presiding. But the Court of Appeal, at all times, you have 3 judges. At the Supreme Court, at all times, you have 5 judges, so that you have divergent opinion on the same issue, because people may read and understand things differently. People may read the law and interpret it differently. But you expect that the ideal, in the most ideal situation, a decision that would be arrived at will be satisfactory for everybody who is in the litigation.
Right.
And so once a former president has expressed this worry about the possibility of the courts in South Africa to be fair, it gives a lot of concern. It means that the ordinary person may not, in South Africa, may not have the judiciary working in a manner that may be favorable and ensure that their rights are protected. And I think the judiciary as a system everywhere probably need to look at it again and probably purge themselves of that perception that the judiciary always favors some people, particularly persons in government and authority. I think I want to respond.
Right, thank you very much. There are lots of people watching us on Facebook, those of you watching us on YouTube too, thank you very much. Make sure you comment and share so that others can also join in the conversation. But finally, after 40 days and 40 nights, Gabriela Tete is here. Gabi.
Yes.
Gabi, good morning. After 40 days and 40 nights, you are finally here.
Good morning. The police has upset my morning, and then on top of that, it cost me twice to come to get here. I run my own security per how I want to move around this city, and today my security was compromised by the police, so I'm not really in a good mood this morning. So let's jump ANC South Africa and let's stay in Ghana, because
But what exactly happened with the police?
So we're using the Okonglo stretch. You enter to Magdan to join the Emmanuel Eye Center side of the road, right? And time was running out because it was past 8 o'clock and I had to rush to get here. And the vehicle that was ahead of us were just one vehicle away from the junction. And the vehicle that was ahead of us, I know that the person was a brand new driver. You know, they get to the junction and they are just delaying because they are afraid to rush into the road. Like that side, if you don't rush into the road, everybody behind you is going to end up standing there forever. So I told the driver that if the person is not ready, let's pass here and let's go. So the driver did just one vehicle tour. Police said they've arrested the vehicle because we went past the whole road. I'm like, after sitting in this heat for 15 minutes, if I knew there was an option to just run past everybody, I should have asked that vehicle to run past everybody. But what was the sense of that? Because that's something that even I personally I like to do. You'll be in the traffic with everybody. That's what it takes to discipline. So the police stopped the car. I had to get out of the car. My security, everybody is now seeing that I'm standing by the roadside. And I was trying to get an Uber or a boat. Everybody keeps cancelling because from where I'm standing, they have to go around in traffic before they get to me. And for like 10-15 minutes, I was just standing there trying to figure how I was going to get from where I was standing to this place. eventually, after the police went to negotiate with the driver, he had to pay. You can imagine. Then when he turned and he realized that it was me. Oh madam. And by that time, where my patience level had reached, I didn't want to hear one word of hey madam, and how I'll undress you that morning. So I just told him that he should just get out of my way. And then annoyingly, he then now asked the driver, which direction are you going? Then he now directs the driver, and how he even directed the driver itself was an illegal move. So I just looked at it and said, you wasted my time. You've compromised my security. You've left me standing by the roadside. If I want people to see me standing by the roadside, I will have no problem going to stand by the roadside for everybody to see that I'm standing by the roadside. Because personally, I like watching cars. When I'm in deep thoughts, I can go and stand by the roadside 1 hour just watching cars moving. But I'm not actually watching the cars because my brain is far off. But this particular morning, I was in no mood to go into deep thoughts and be standing by the roadside to be watching cars. But I was left standing by the roadside trying to get a vehicle cancelled. For 15 minutes. Frustrations and so it cost me twice because I had to refund how much the driver paid to get his security before I got here. So let's cancel ANC, let's cancel this one. Let's go to Ghana topics. I'm not really in a good mood.
Interesting.
It's very annoying.
I can understand.
And especially, see, if I had made him do an illegal turn, the circumstances where we found ourselves, time was running out, 8 o'clock had passed. You had already called that I was running late. And this lady that I have to stand behind, and she's afraid to move, I should keep standing behind this lady till she gathers the courage to move her car.
That's I mean, that's a shame.
This is national service. So if you come and put impediments in my way for doing national service and being a patriotic citizen, then Charlie, we don't have it easy in this country.
I know, I can understand.
So forget ANC. The other topic is very important to me. So the central region topic.
The health issue.
Yeah, the trauma center issue.
It's disturbing. I've read what the hospital's response is.
They put her in a nice dress and gifted her a wheelchair.
So, and they are saying that they fulfilled their obligation by providing the health care when she was, she was involved in an accident.
Yes.
So they are saying that they did whatever they were supposed to do by giving her the needed health care, and also they discharged her at her preferred destination. That was what they used. That was the word they used. Her preferred, destination. So the question is, the woman's preferred destination was the bush
at a junction that people rarely use.
Exactly. It was just a secluded area.
Especially when they also mentioned that the social welfare officer who is assigned to the trauma center had been in contact with the social service worker at Gomwa, and they had agreed that she was going to accept her transfer to Gomwa.
Oh, okay.
You see, that the conversation so far has been centered on the trauma center, but the conversation has to move from the trauma center to the social welfare part of it.
Right. But let me briefly read what is here. It says, patient abandoned in bush was treated and discharged to a preferred destination, Winneba Trauma Hospital. It says, the Trauma and Specialist Hospital, Winneba, has, in a report, indicated that the patient who was abandoned in the bush was treated, declared okay, and was discharged. In a report by the medical director who has been relieved of his position pending an investigation, the patient who was brought in from Gomo Jobi was discharged from the hospital after they took responsibility for her. The patient had been on admission for 6 days and finally discharged on the 3rd June 2024 after being declared well. The medical record is tendered in as evidence. The report indicated that the patient insisted on being taken to Gomo Jobi, and there was correspondence between the hospital and the social welfare officer of Gomo Jobi before she was taken away. The hospital said it performed the role expected of it, even though the inevitable occurred. Sincerely speaking, if one should objectively analyze the situation at hand, one would realize that the hospital had played its role as expected of it by taking care of the patient, empathize with her, but unfortunately the inevitable occurred. So there's this the parts where she was transported to which particular place is still not clear.
So let me tell you the issues. Because I've also done my investigations in the region for 3 different officers and 3 different constituencies. She had an accident and then she was sent to the trauma center. In that particular enclave, anytime there's a serious injury, accident, somebody has collapsed, the last Auto Senior East issues with the Ato Kumsin and the rest, that violence that occurred. Those who were injured, even though the issue happened in Kaswa, and there were health facilities in Kaswa, when the issue happened, some of them were transferred to Trauma Center Winneba.
Yeah.
Because in that enclave, that particular center is seen as the most effective in dealing with some of these issues. So she was transported to the trauma center. After her accident, both limbs had been fractured, so she couldn't walk. And she's been on admission for 2 months. But as a result of the accident, it appears that she's gone through some traumatic experience that has affected her brain. Yeah. So especially at night, she goes through phases of hallucinations, and she starts making outbursts and screams and stuff. And to the staff of the facility, they felt that it was inconveniencing other patients. So they wanted to have her discharged so that the facility can have, that the rest of the patients there can have some peace of mind. So they asked her, where was she from? She said, Gomwa Ojobi. So they gave her, the facility gave her over to the social welfare officers at the facility. They got into contact with social welfare at Gomwa East. She accepted to take her, and then once the transfer is over, she'll be checking out, give her to her family and all that. The issue now is that from my checks, there are 5 communities around Gomwa Ojobi, Akoti, all those areas. And sometimes you come to that neighborhood to come and play your games. So if anything at all, you know how that particular stretch from Kaswa all the way to Winneba behave. Yeah. They intermingle and move about, so everybody knows everybody on that stretch. It's like people who live from Adenta to East Legon. Because you're almost on that main street, people are familiar with each other. So in Ojobi, when they brought her, it turns out that they couldn't identify where exactly to send her, because she wasn't giving specific information as to, I'm from this family, I'm from this area, I'm from this palace or something. So the ambulance attendants and the social welfare workers, in their own arrangement, decided, well, this is where she said we should leave, so we've come to leave her at a junction, and we've given her a wheelchair. How can she move when her limbs are still in POP? And according to the hospital, they are saying that she is discharged because she's recovered. If she has recovered, you see my left arm here. You see I have a surgical mark on this side. Yeah. If I don't show you, it's because of where they did the surgery, right? Yeah. When you have a broken limb and you are being discharged, the first thing they check out is whether your limbs are strong enough for you to be able to be discharged, and what are the conditions for you seeking review and coming back for further review. In her case, it appears that those conditions were not provided, whether she was entitled to review and what was the true state of her limbs, and if she could even stand on those limbs as she was in the conditions that she was found. So moving forward, the issue now is between the social welfare workers and those who were attending the ambulance, because that is where the decision to dump her actually took place. Why did they choose to leave her at that junction when they could have given her to the police if they couldn't find her relatives, or she couldn't specifically say, I'm from this household, or drop me here? Either to the police to the chief of the community, to the assemblyman, so that assemblymen, because they have jurisdiction over small communities, and they're also very popular and known in the whole community. They also know everybody in the community. So within their small jurisdiction, they could have been able to identify, oh, she's one of us or she's not one of us. So all those issues sidelined and left her by the roadside. But the end of it is that, to me, it's only one thing that has happened. The system has failed this woman. If something happens to me, today you see me on TV, so my face is a bit popular. You see I have a name that is a popular political name. But assuming that I did not have a popular name, I wasn't fair in complexion and all, and I wasn't on TV, and I was a normal John or Jane, wrong names. I was a normal AC or Araba. You know, I was a normal AC or Araba, and you call me like unknown X. The system, whether I'm known or not known, the system has to be there for me. But as it is, it failed her completely. From health delivery to security to even somebody showing humanity to this woman to give her something. I don't have what was there? You see, the young men who originally went and videoed her. People were a bit offended, like, why are you using a full video to be videoing her when you should be offering her some help or something? I don't have any resentment against those people, because when you come to rural setting in our communities, for them, they are not doing this because they want the thing to go viral. They are doing it because they are sharing so that somebody will see and come and offer support. You understand? So for people who are online and were insulting those who are videoing the whole thing, if they had a video that thing, we also would not have found out.
To be talking about it.
We also wouldn't have found out. But they couldn't get that response in the community because it turns out that she's not that known in the community. So this morning I was having a conversation in my head about this whole thing. And you see, bless, for those who are introverted and who always want to be away from people, I think that no matter how introverted you are, for your own safety and security and welfare, certain basic things you should make an effort. Like join the church. Even if you don't believe in God, go and say that so that somebody can see that you come to church. And if anything should happen to you, you have witnesses. So this, you did it because you believe in God. You are doing it for your own security. So that should anything happen to you, somebody can bear witness. Especially when you don't have any family in that area. And it turns out that it appears that that is the woman's condition. Nobody is owning up as a family, even to claim her. And it's a very sad situation for anybody. I think that this is actually a test case for us to learn very serious lessons in what has gone wrong. System failures. Yes, the people who are supposed to have responsibility over her have failed. Society also failed her. Because at some point, we look at the condition she's in, and somebody, anybody, should have felt touched by her plight and offer some assistance. Or even go and call Odikro and inform him that this is the situation. After how much is you going to eat? How much is it going to cost to maintain her? Why don't you send pictures and stuff out so that anybody who knows her can at least come forward and claim some familiarity or something around her? Because so far, it's as if she's an unknown ex who has been let down by the system.
But you're not also talking about the hospital.
The hospital, I have my issue is, you see, the hospital has, at first, when the story came out, I was very angry with the hospital. I was on GTV on Friday. The video came out on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I did not mince words. I went straight for the hospital and the ambulance service. But knowing what I know from my officers who are on the ground,
yeah,
and what information they picked from the hospital, from the constituency where she was left. And you see, here's the other part of information that you guys have not heard yet. The ambulance actually brought her in the night. Oh. They didn't dump her in the daytime. They came in the night to Ghana. Charlie, it's crazy, eh? At night, if she says she wants to be dropped at a certain location, why not daytime?
Yeah.
Why do you choose the night? The witness who saw the ambulance stop at where it stopped and left her also couldn't approach the ambulance when she saw that it was a female, a young girl. She couldn't approach the ambulance when she saw that there was some activity going around the ambulance. So all she saw was that they had left something on the ground and drove off. It was in the morning when they discovered that there's a woman lying where the ambulance stopped, that she said last night an ambulance came and dropped something there. And then they found out that it was a Winneba trauma center ambulance. So it is a system failure from every angle.
But also, what was the condition of the woman before leaving the hospital? Because for somebody who was hallucinating at
She should have
night,
gone for psychiatric treatment.
who should have directed her to go for that psychiatric
Social
treatment?
welfare.
Especially when her
Social
family
welfare.
members weren't around.
That's the reason why I'm saying that even in Ojobi, there are no family members. So if where they have brought her as where she claims that she hails from, they can't identify her family members, how do you think they're going to find her way to trauma center? That's why for 2 months nobody visited her. Her own family, I'm sure they were, I don't want to believe that you have a family member and for 2 months you don't hear from your
Was it
relative.
2 months? Was it 2 months?
She was there for 2 months.
2 months.
Yes, according to the Graphic reporter.
No, I don't think so.
Graphic also went there to interview the Graphic online story.
Because what I'm getting from here is 6 days.
No,
from
the Graphic online reporter, the Graphic online report by the Central Regional Correspondent. She went to Winneba to interview them, and she said that she had been on admission for 2 months, and for 2 months no relative was coming. So when she came to some sense of reality, that they asked her where she's from, and she said that Gomo Ojobi. You see, so it's a difficult thing to discuss, but it has to be discussed. So actually, the whole thing is a systems failure. It's not just the trauma center. Social welfare should also come and explain to us what happened when she was given to them. Because at that point, they should have taken a decision whether she's going for psychiatric treatment or she's going home, looking at the condition that she found herself. And then you ask the question, social welfare department and Gasano, do we even train them? Do we get the right people to go into social care? Do we even resource them for them to be able to sit and take these kind of decisions? Because if so far her bills at Winneba Trauma Hospital was being catered for free of charge, and it means that the social welfare department that is also now coming to take custody of her will probably look at the conditions of the woman and say, where they are covered by your soul. After all, how much funds do they have to do the job that they are doing? It is one of the most under-resourced departments under Minister for Gender, Social Protection, blah, blah, blah. All the money they spend on school feeding program at the expense of other serious interventions. So for me, I want social welfare to also give an account of what really happened when the lady was put in their care, and how the decision between social welfare and the ambulance drivers and EMT technicians, they call them what? Emergency something technicians, the ambulance drivers.
Yeah.
So between the social welfare and the ambulance drivers, the decision to dump her at that junction. What went into that decision? We have to move from trauma hospital because there's so much emphasis on trauma hospital. This is where now we need answers to. Social welfare and the drivers of those ambulances. They should explain themselves.
You know why I continue, I'm on the hospital? Because what is the reasoning behind discharging a patient when you are well aware as a doctor that this person is not fit to be discharged? Especially when the person, this is a trauma hospital. That's the trauma department. So the person has had a traumatic experience, and so it's not too much to expect hallucinations at night. And you say that the hallucinations the person is having at night is becoming an affront to some of the patients there. So the best decision is to discharge her. To where? For the traumatic experience, for me, I know that if somebody has a traumatic experience and the person is undergoing some form of hallucination, the best place to be is at the hospital. So for you to move the person out of that place.
That is why social welfare has to respond to us, because the decision that trauma hospital has done their part. They are to bones and injuries. And
to not say that, okay, let us transfer her to a mental hospital.
Social welfare should have taken that decision, and that is why the social welfare officer at the hospital has to also talk to us.
But how will a social welfare person be able to evaluate a patient and say that this patient has to be transferred?
But the person is having hallucinations.
No. Did that order come from the hospital that the person has hallucinations? I don't know if Mr. Rosta, you understand me. Because it is only a doctor who can declare that somebody has...
The social officer is assigned to the facility.
Okay.
He or she's assigned to the facility. So he or she knows the records of the patient. He or she knows the state of the patient. So if the patient has been handed over and you realize that, no, doctor, the condition of this individual, we think that let us keep her here for some more time and let us find a psychiatric services to support her. If you can't afford psychiatric care, you tell your district health director, because both of you are working together. You tell maybe your MP, who is Afenyo Markin. He's also very quiet on this issue, even though it happened in his constituency. And I'm surprised he's not said anything. Your MP, but if it's about funding that care, the system must be able to provide that care. And that's what I said, that it is a system failure, it is a societal failure. Maybe the doctor has a different opinion, but for me,
he's not a doctor.
Sorry. I thought I heard you say doctor.
No. Rick Star. He is actually the vice president of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana. He's an international fisherman. He has trawlers, big ones.
And you are not making us about our fisheries college Akufado has left in South Point uncompleted. When in Anmabu, sorry. It's a Fatima constituency.
Yes.
It's almost 90% completed. All they have to do is do finishing touches. And our fishermen and fisher folks can go to get higher education.
I think 2 weeks ago, the former president was at Tema East. Yeah. So they had that conversation. He was there as well. The Canoe Owners Association, players in the fishing. It's a very important asset for us in the central region. Players of our constituencies are coastal. So Charlie, it's a big deal for us. We have fish processing and we have training college. So Mr. Akufado, he doesn't understand this thing. So he wants free education. So he doesn't take higher beyond free education. Mr. Rista.
Free secondary.
Mr. Rista, let's hear you.
You see, I have had a personal experience, and so sometimes it's worrying. You know, I was an assembly member before in Tema, and I remember one day I was there, and then they called me. I stay a bit further away from my electoral area. So when I went to the facility, then it was a health facility, it was a health post. There was this mad woman who was in labor, and they had her on the truck, push truck. And then the physician assistant there was like, well, he doesn't have a welfare system, so he could not deliver her. and I had to speak for close to an hour. The woman was still in labor, and he was like, no, there was no way I was going to deliver her. So I had to put her in my vehicle that day, and then people were like, why are you doing that? I said, well, she's a human being, she's going to give birth to a human being. So I was with one of my friends, so we had to put her at the back seat of my vehicle. Then I had to drive her to the General Hospital and then leave her with the nurses there because they have a welfare system. So it tells you that our system is failing us. And on and on and on, people in position of trust are not working to ensure that the ordinary person for whom taxes are collected have the full benefit of taxes that they pay. And we quickly find scapegoats in order that governments are absolved from all these issues when they come up. So you see, immediately the doctor in charge had been fired. The hospital administrator had been suspended. And then the politicians will now put together an investigation that would not address the key social intervention issues that is lost on us. Because there is a limit to which hospitals that have limited resources can do. And so once their resources are stretched, both human and financial, they will be in a very dire situation. There are people like this woman who are in many, many hospitals whose families are not there to take care of them. But you don't have a welfare system that is able to provide the basic support that those people need. And I feel as a country that is what we should address ourselves to. There are young children walking the streets of this country who are supposed to be in the classrooms. There are no classrooms for them, and there are basically no facility. There's no social net for them that protects them. So they roam the streets, they become social deviants, and they become a problem to society because the society or the elite enjoy that kind of system. It makes people vulnerable. It makes it easier for us to now go to them and give them 10 cedis, 20 cedis, a bag of rice, some gari, every 4-year cycle, and ask them to vote for us. And then we come back to rule them and still not take care of their interests. That is not good for us. This woman's case may have come up because you probably have it on social media. And so quickly to whitewash the situation, we have just decided that let us use the medical doctor as a scapegoat. The medical doctor performs a function. That function is to ensure that when a patient is assigned to him, he provides medical care. And even that, it is limited. Because after he has provided his medical care and given his medical advice and done his prescription, some other people take over. The medical doctor is not responsible for the ward where the patient will be lying. There are ward nurses who are responsible for patients who are in the ward. The hospital system is not the medical doctor who is assigned to the patient who is in charge. There's a structure, they have an organogram, and so unless we are being told that the medical doctor personally decided on his own that, okay, this patient should be put into an ambulance and go and dumped somewhere, I feel we need to look at this as a case study to analyze the kind of welfare system that we run. We are talking about social welfare. They go to their offices. Sometimes papers to even write on, they don't have it. They are basically there, and apart from earning their salary in the month, they have not been tooled to do anything. The social welfare system is not in charge of the ambulance system. The person who is the social welfare officer at the hospital, the question arises as to what is her understanding of the medical situation, and how often do they even go for refresher courses to understand their role in the changing environment that we find ourselves in? Are we building capacity enough for them to be able to deal with situations? What influence has she on both backward and forward linkages that would arise in the course of doing her work? How is she able to influence policy, social policy within the hospital? And how is she able to relate with other social welfare systems outside the hospital where she's been assigned, such that she will be able to even develop a budget which will now deal with this particular patient? Because even if the woman says she comes from a village and you go and you give the woman to an assembly member, how would the assembly member who is not paid deal with the situation? If you give it to a chief who doesn't take our taxes, how is the chief going to deal? Who will rent for the, who will pay the rent? If you bring in a nurse in the house, that is private care. Even persons who are earning salary are struggling to deal with private care. We need to address the challenge we have. The challenge we have is that we have a country that is completely divorced from the people. You have leadership that have no linkage with the very ordinary people. Yeah, if Rita is lying somewhere on the street and one person takes a shot and puts it on social media, you have thousands and thousands of people. Some may probably drive their private vehicle and come and pick, they put you in the hospital. Let me tell you my experience. One, there was a time the GPHA people wanted to sell a parcel of land that people dry their anchovies on. And then we revolted. There was some violence. I was sitting my son where the police came to pick me up and they put me in their cells. Every day you have a long queue of people who were coming to visit me, and they were giving me so much food that everybody in the cell was eating enough morning, afternoon, and evening. Meanwhile, there were people in the cells who, for the period that they've been in the cells, had never had a visitor. They were not being fed properly. And so sometimes, yes, when people bring their food. And so, you know, the cellmates wanted me to stay longer because for a very for a very long time. But you see, that's the kind of system we are running. That persons who seem to be privileged, even if they don't need, are giving more. Yeah. Society tend to look at what they will get by providing for you because you are able to pay back in some other form. And persons who society should take care of are abandoned. And you have a state that doesn't care. Yeah. It's not just about a government, it's about the state institutions, about the system, it's about the mental state and the psyche of the people who have taken up. People are basically, like President Kufuor said, people pretend to be working, the state pretend to be paying them, the state pretend to be providing for them. Because if the social welfare system even had to deal with emergencies, how equipped are they? Because I expect that, assuming that this person had been discharged, once the person doesn't have a known address, there should be a system that takes the person in and take the person through whatever process that had to be taken through until the person is discharged. But if the person is discharged, where are you going to hold? Because this is an old woman. So where are you going to hold her? Are you still going to discharge her and put her in the streets? A person who have suffered from an accident. If she doesn't have any, you get it. Even the churches themselves, their own members, how are they taking care of them? Yeah. The members in the church, how are they taking care of them? They are not able to take care of their own members. They probably take better care of their pastors who do not need more than the poorer people in the church. Our psyche, our system has to be looked at again. But you see, we need to start from our educational system itself. Beyond teaching people to be medical doctors, what other things do we teach them that give a human face to their work? Beyond teaching people to be lawyers, what other social programs do we teach them beyond what they do? Even at the primary school, how do we teach our children to be able to interface the education we are giving them that we have to learn rudely so we are able to write exams and pass with morality in society? You see, until we build a society that is not made up of people who have become mechanic and so have been to school, I hold a degree, I hold a master's, I hold a PhD, and so this is what I do, and beyond what I do, I'm not even able to relate well with the people who work for me. And that when a staff is sick, I may not even want, I go there and you can't work, go home, or something. How we need that interface that gives us that empathy, which allows us to feel what others are going through. When we were young, when you saw people who were aged, you gave them reverence.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have that family thing that allows you to give people other than your parents, even your own parents, we hardly give them the reverence that is due them. Now, the only people we give reverence to are the politicians, because they will give us money, and the pastors, because we believe that when they pray for us, all our problems will be solved. Society needs to be reworked. It is sad, yes, if it's my mother, I wouldn't be happy to have found her left at that point at night by persons who are supposed to be more responsible, who are being paid with our taxes, who use ambulances that were purchased with our taxes to carry somebody who indirectly, the person may not be working, but I'm sure she may be buying things and may be paying VAT, which include health insurance levy. So who has been paying taxes for her own health care? Because once she pays health insurance levy, she's paying taxes for her own health care. That should give her that social network, social protection. But who is damned because she's unable to deal with the cost of her health being maintained. It is sad. We need to hold persons we give our taxes to responsible for the things and decisions they make. We don't do that enough. As a people, we are not angry enough. And we are happy that a doctor that has been trained to take care of people has been fired because the system had failed, and he or she happens to have found himself in a failed system and was unable to do anything. Unless we can point to the guilt of that medical doctor who is today being asked to go and sit at home when we are even in need of more medical doctors. The person may even be a specialist, because this is a specialist hospital. There's very specialists that we lack. And we say, oh, okay, go and sit at home, you are fired, without addressing the problem. Next time, somebody else is there and there's a problem, the person will leave it. The person will not handle it. They may not even admit the person into the hospital, because they will tell you that if these systems are not in place, we cannot admit the person. Because when you abandon the person or you dump the person on us, and then it becomes a cost and we cannot deal with it, there's no way we can. So we won't even admit the person into our facility at all. It could be your mother, it could be somebody, because immediately there's an accident, you may not be able to identify the people. And so it could be anybody. And then at the end of the day, the person may just be taken out. And because the hospital would not want their staff to be fired by the powers that be for actions that they may not have control over, they will not admit people. And the victims may be people who may be close to you. And then we would all know the kind of situation we are creating for ourselves. I think I want to respond.
Right, thank you very much, Rista. Let me read a few messages. Saba K. James says, hi, hospitals throw away patients when there's total failure of a state, so this should not surprise anybody. More of these are on the way to happen. From James K. Saba, thank you, James, for your message. This one here says, please, this very issue of dumping of a patient in the bush. First, how can a qualified medical officer decide to discharge a patient in such condition? They said Dr. who signed her discharge should be questioned. This one came from Apostle. You didn't tell me where you sent your message from. Good morning, Koku. Please, the investigation must go beyond the medical director. There's a total distortion of money by the nurses on duty from family members, and if your family members were not there, your patient will not be attended to on emergency cases. There's no value for life but value for money. By Efo Mauli from Mamubi. Thank you, Efo Mauli, for your message. When a thief is caught red-handed and he doesn't tell you any story, then something might have been wrong somewhere. This is exactly what MPP and Mr. Dami are facing. From James K. Saba again. Thank you, James, once again for your message. Musa Batwa says that hands of our hotels demo dedication to safeguarding the Snit property is truly commendable. By organizing these demonstrations, you are standing up for the principles of accountability and transparency that Akufo-Addo and Bawumia pledged to uphold. It's inspiring to see citizens like you advocating for the protection of public assets and ensuring that the interests of the people are prioritized over those of a select few. Your efforts are powerful. A powerful reminder that the voices of the people matter and can drive meaningful change. Keep up the great work. Okay. Honorable Akpache inside Nketepa says, good morning to you all, my good people in the studio. Please do not call, I beg you. Just leave a message, don't call. My good people in the studio, whatever statement the trauma hospital brings out wouldn't work. How can you abandon a human being in the bush without telling any assembly member and the chiefs in the town? In all my checks, it's something that they have been doing. They should be punished. From Akpache inside Nketepa. Thank you, Akpache, for your message. Let me go to some more messages on Facebook. And so, yep, on Facebook, this one here says that hands over hotel demo. Okay, I think I already read this one. Pedro says, watching the best show live and clear inside Kumasi Town, also Kesman Junction. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Patrick Nketia says, good morning. Good morning, Patrick. Many thanks for always doing the watching. Jonathan Mauli Selom says, good morning. Okay, all right. Philip Champon says, I'm pleading to all deserted MPP, those who have deserted MPP, to come on board to join the MPP campaign. I mean, those who are aggrieved because of one or two reasons. Honorable Kennedy Japan has joined, so his supporters and others too must also join to enable the party break the 8. Regards to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Okay, thank you very much. But there's a demonstration going on as we are here also discussing some other issues, The hands of hotel demonstration put together by the Honorable Member of Parliament for the North Dawn constituency. I'm getting videos already. If we can display those videos, I'll be very, very happy. It looks very well attended, but Mr. Rista, so that's what you can see on your screens there. Lots of people out in their numbers to demonstrate against the sale of Snit's 60% stake in hotels like Labadi, La Palm, Ridge Royale, and then Buzia Beach Resort, these 4 hotels. And so, yes, so I think they are still at Labadi. I don't know if a similar thing would be happening in the other regions. So,
in actual fact, I'm actually thinking about the Central region.
Because
we have 2 hotels on this list.
And those that 2 hotels
and Bejaya. And those 2 hotels are our best hotels in Cape Coast.
I've been to Ridge Royale. It's a nice place.
Like Granny Champon, who has not made profits for his that is over how many rooms that they
2,000 or so.
the way you people have been watched to the extent that somebody has 200 rooms, so you automatically assume that the facility is doing well and is making profit. The largest in Africa, the largest here, the largest there. Massa.
But I know Mr. Richter has keen interest in this particular issue.
You want to start with him?
Yes, okay. his brief thoughts.
Well, I have a lot of interest because one, and pardon me, it is La, not Labadi. The people of La.
They are La people, yeah. Right?
Yeah. One, I'm a native of Tema, and normally when you say you are a native of Tema, people they ask you, is Tema also? Do people come from Tema? Yes, I come from Tema. My grandfather predated independence, so I'm a native of Tema. You see, when you hear Ajekojo, Sasa, Bikubeko, they are all part of the indigenous Tema.
Oh, Ajekojo.
Yeah, Tema lands.
I see.
So I'm a native of Tema. You see, we are unfortunate to have our lands compulsorily acquired. All Tema lands were compulsorily acquired and placed under TDC. And you know how TDC has decimated our lands and basically sold everything. And it's sad. So if the state acquires people's land for the purposes of developing the country, so that it becomes a social good for all of us to benefit, and then you turn around and then hand them over to a few individuals to make profits and pocket them, it's sad. It's sad particularly for the people whose land have been acquired, whose property have been acquired, whose children and grandchildren are denied the opportunity of benefiting from that property. And then it is given to other people who now benefit, and sometimes turn around and call the people whose property were acquired fools. You get it? So some of us are particularly worried about how Ghana lands are being abused by persons. I was happy when the former president said that we were going to build new city in order that we move some of government business outside of Accra into other new cities. What it means is that you will decongest Accra, but still make Accra an important part of the country. If you've been to Abuja and you see how Abuja had been built, you would appreciate the need to move the city, even if it is the government seat out of Accra, to some other place, and allow Accra to regenerate itself and be modernized into a modern city. But you see, you cannot do these things when government decides that lands should be, or government property should be given to individuals who in most instances do not apply the property for the purposes for which it was given. Because now, if you give 60% of these hotels to Brian Acham, he becomes the majority shareholder. And so he's able to make any decision. So if he decides tomorrow that I'm no longer using these hotels, I don't need them for hotels, I need them for some other purpose, what happens? He may buy out the other shareholders if they disagree, because he holds a majority share, and so decides how the property should be used. So basically, I am appalled by the decision to sell a Labadi Beach hotel that is making profit. It's not running losses. And interestingly, I have to say that I've slept in almost all the hotels that we are talking about. Yes, the last time I slept in the Luna Beach hotel, it was not, you realize that the facilities had been suffering from poor maintenance. But that was a hotel that was making a lot of money. especially when I was engaged in civil society advocacy and were spending time outside. We did a number of meetings in Nabadwe, and you have 3 or 4 conferences happening at the same time at the facility. If Snit cannot manage hotels, how are they going to manage our pension funds? Because they are charged with the responsibility of taking my pension, and I'm paying a lot of money for my Snit contribution every month, with the hope that they will invest those monies wisely, and that they are not going to put my money in some escrow or some accounts for the money to sit there. And then when I'm going, because when that happens, what it will mean is that I will not have a better pension. Look at the pittance people take for their retirement benefits. You need to be a top earner to retire and retire comfortably. Otherwise, you retire and you retire as a beggar. Teachers, nurses, doctors retire, and at the end of the month, they almost get next to nothing, which is able to sustain them. Snit is talking about the informal sector rolling onto their pension scheme and paying the little money they are getting as Snit contribution, with the intention that they will manage them properly, so that when these people can no longer do the things that they are supposed to be doing today, they will give them some proper benefit. But they are telling us that they can't manage hotels, and that they are selling the hotels to an individual because he has built some hotel somewhere and so has the capabilities of money. And then when you tell people, say, oh, but we want Ghanaians to invest. Yes, nobody is prepared. When Brian decided to build his own hotel, nobody stopped him from building it. If Brian acquired lands and feel that I want to build a hotel to compete with the Snit-owned hotels, nobody will say he shouldn't do it. But why are we giving? And interestingly, you see, the arrangement is such that it's not even going to pay the amount. It's not going to be. It's just going to be part, and then we work and make profits, and use that profit to pay. What kind of system is this? Oh, what kind of thinking is this? The very hotels you think cannot make hotel profit, somebody should run them and make profit and use the profit to pay. And basically, that is what we have done with a number of our state-owned properties. Today we are talking about Branacham. Come to Tema Harbour. The only slipway and the auxiliary facilities that we have for fishermen who are in the inshore sector to repair their vessels has been given to Kennedy Japan, and he's built a coastal there. It was first given to Movell, and then Movell sold it to Kennedy. He's built a big coastal there right now as we talk. So now, those vessels, last time you heard that the vessel had an accident, because they don't have a slipway. So, maintenance of those vessels has become a problem. You see, it's sad that these are facilities that are supposed to serve public interest purposes. And then we give them to individuals. They change the use of the facility completely. It's not like they are going to use it for the purpose or improve it and even charge commercial rates and then pay taxes on them. In most instances, they change the use completely. So the rationale, the reasoning for acquiring the land to have that property will be lost. So the persons who are supposed to benefit from those facilities will now not have those benefits again. What is the sense in giving the beachfront to Blaze children to acquire them? In fact, the way we are dissipating our beachfront, some of us are getting worried. We are getting concerned because, you see, the ocean is eating gradually because of high sea rise, is eating gradually on our beachfront. And what we are doing is to be increasing human activities around the beachfront, which is aiding the destruction of our beachfront. And I don't know why, as a country, we don't even care about our environment. Because we cannot exist without the environment. We have a responsibility to take care of our environment so that the environment will take care of us. But when we fail to take care of the environment, we will die and leave the environment. Interestingly, most of the people who are in charge of policy and decision making are advanced in age. But their children and grandchildren have opportunities to go and live in countries where they are taking utmost care of the environment and creating proper social safe for persons who are living in their countries. And so it is the poor fishermen like me who will struggle to survive in that kind of system that they will create. We need to hold leadership responsible. It's not enough to demonstrate. You see, I believe that the last two should rise. The HEADMAN may have suffered, but La has also suffered seriously in terms of what lands they have acquired. Look at this AU village. All their lands were acquired. And it reminds me of, was it Gabon that was hosting a summit of leaders. And then they bought 100 brand new V8 vehicles. The people came just for a day, and then they left. Why do you buy brand new vehicles? I'm not sure even United States that holds the UN buy new vehicles for head of state that are coming. Because what is the responsibility of the ambassadors of those countries that are visiting? The same way we built AU Village for one conference, and then the heads of state came, they slept in it, and then we bought. Remember, we bought a lot of Jaguars in the system at the time,
and MG cars.
And then they came, they left, and then we gave them to party apparatchiks and people who are close to corridors of power for a song. Why do we do this to ourselves as a people? Why do we want to just give what belongs to all of us to a few people so that they're always up there and then they urinate on all of us, on all of us, and think that our education is useless and that they only have that social network? It is not fair. And I stand with the people who are demonstrating. I stand with the people of La. I feel the La people should rise. TUC may be failing us. They sit on that board, and of course TUC should have what it takes to hold government accountable, and not just TUC, but the labor unions, the NAT, and all of them should be able to hold governments responsible and accountable. They control the numbers, and the numbers are the only thing politicians fear. So why is it that the labor is so relaxed? Yeah. Because if the labor decides to talk and decide to hold government accountable, I'm sure every government will do things right.
Right. But let me also mention that TUC, they are involved in this demonstration. That is the trade union congress.
I know they are involved, but I saw Naili. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that should they wait for an individual to wage a war before they join? They sit on the board.
So they should have actually
started the process. Yeah. The face saving last minute entry and statements and press conferences, they have to be proactive. They must be seen to be leading some of this advocacy and some of this change that we need as a people.
Right. Thank you.
They were helpless at the board level. So if they went and they were helpless at the board level and they were not also reporting back to TUC, I think TUC ought to reshuffle their board members because they've also not been fair to the workers. Let me deviate before I come back to the topic for discussion. Yesterday, Professor Nana Jane donated some items to the Muslim community in the central region. And this is a ritual that she's been undertaking every time there's an Eid or any Muslim celebration. She always goes to the Central Mosque, which is in Cape Coast South constituency, to donate rice, sugar, Milo milk. Yesterday I heard they donated cow meat as well. So we thank her very much for the donation on behalf of the Muslim community. Let me also say a good morning to my constituency chairman for Himandwa Dintra. He's called Chairman Suleimana. And then a journalist called Jerry Asari, also in the Central region. Another friend called Joe, another friend called Kudus. You have a lot of people watching you this morning. If I say I'm going to mention all the names, my 15 minutes will pass me. So all those whose names I'm jumping, I'll respond to you by text. So forgive me. I have to address demonstration. So this Brane Champo hotel purchases issue. Before you jump to him, I was making the point that I'm seriously contemplating organizing one in Central Region because of the two Golden Beach hotels, Bejaya and the Rage Royal.
Yeah.
Because frankly speaking, I don't know who did the business analysis.
Central Region.
And that's Bejaya.
Okay.
You know, in Central Region, you have something, a peculiar habit. We name projects by the contractors who do the projects.
Okay.
So the nickname of Mina Beach Resort is Bejaya. Because the contractor that did the job is called Bejaya.
I see.
When you come to our regional hospital, it's called Central Regional Hospital. Interbeton.
Yeah.
The contractor was called Interbeton.
I see.
So we named the project by the contractor.
Interbeton.
So I don't know. That's how we are.
I see.
Maybe after this Taswa Widiba Road, we consider giving the names to the contractors if they live up to expectation. But so far they've been very, forgive my Latin, useless on that stretch. You know, after they caused the flood, they diverted the river, caused the flood, and then they said it was the gods in the river who were angry because they didn't consult them before they started the construction. In this day and age, in the 21st century. Anyway, demonstration. Bless. This issue, for me, I've come to the point where my conclusion is this. The workers of Ghana have to rise up, and they have to send a very strong message to the leadership of this country that as much as they are out to sell the whole country to themselves, certain assets are a no-go area. And especially when this has to do with pension funds, contributions from earned salaries. These are not Ghanaian taxpayers' money. These are workers' contributions from wages and salaries, including all of us sitting here who contribute pension contributions to Snit. This video you keep showing us every day. You know, I like to watch it because of all the greenery.
Yeah.
Remember, even this forest they sold to themselves forever. What doesn't Akufo-Addo and his people want in this country? Everything that belongs to this country, these people want to take over. Every asset that has value, they want to take it over. Why? It is greed. I've come to that conclusion. It is greed. Brian Echampo's company, Rock City, whatever they call the holdings or whatever they call it. You have seen from the business projections that this company, according to what Honorable Ablakwa shared with the whole country on the tax returns by this company, it is making losses. So how does a company that can't manage itself in Kwewu and is making losses now have any transformational strategy to come and manage 6 of our best hotels and turn them around? When these hotels are not only the fact that it is owned by pension funds, these are investments that are expected to earn returns, accrue profit to the company, to shareholders, dividends, so that the investor company, Snit, can make money and pay better pensions to Ghanaian workers. Technically, business-wise, this company should not have even won this contract in the first place. Before you even come to the fact that the individual involved is a politically exposed person. And I keep making this point. Don't assume that NDC will come to power and come and continue with any business with Bani Champo. It is politics. Nobody comes and finances their opponents. So if you allow these facilities to be taken over by an NPP person in an NDC administration, NDC will channel the businesses to all those other hotels that are not going to finance NPP people. So technically, this hotel that you think this is the best strategic investor for, it's actually going to run you down. So it should have been a non-starter in the negotiation, unless the agenda was not really about making profits for these hotels and making them profitable. Unless the agenda was to take ownership of state property, and even if Achimota Forest could be willed forever and take it over, our forests all over the country have been taken over in the name of mining and galamsey and logging, then this is just another of Akufo-Addo's administration that has come to loot this country. And it is a very sad spectacle that a country as beautiful, as forward-looking, as progressive as ours, today we are having to go on demonstrations just to fight off people who are taking over our assets. And Akufo-Addo, as usual, as is typical of him this last year, as if this morning I listened to a caller into a program whose only question to the hostess of the program was, are you people sure the man will leave a lesson? Because as you all know, he has already told us that he has checked out, but he still has 6 months in office, and he cannot just check out like that, because if the man has relinquished duty and this country is now up for anybody to just take their share because they are going into opposition, then Nana Akufo-Addo has to relook at why he actually came to office. This man in opposition told us that anybody who wants to make money should go to the private sector. Yet right under his watch, his people have turned the public sector, the government sector, into the private sector and are busily milking it. And he's sitting there aloof, unconcerned, or pretending that he's not aware. It's a very sad spectacle, what our country is and what our country has become. I want to use this opportunity to say kudos to Honorable Ablakwa for taking up the initiative and bringing this to the attention of all of us. Would have been sitting here as pensioners and asking why our pension, after all our contributions, we are going home with 500 Ghana, 300 Ghana, because Snit is not paying us any better pensions. Only for us to realize that turns out all the investments that could have made money have been sold out, and we're not even aware. Bless. Snit, aside Ablakwa, the minority, and in the trade union leadership, even though I'm upset with them for not taking action at the boardroom. Bless. Fundamentally, we still have to go back and address certain key issues. How Snit treats its investments. Because the money just comes in wow, as Kufo will say. When they are investing, for many of the areas stand up as shareholders, they don't really go back and look at how profitable those businesses are. I'll give you an example. We have the Ghana hostels. You remember that project? Almost all the hostels in Legon and so around the country are built and owned by Snit for students at the tertiary level in the universities. How many of them are profitable? The maintenance of those facilities is even poor. It's a problem. Why? There's a management issue there. Come to STC. When Snit took over STC under Kufo, they didn't even bring one bus at the time. They were pushed. The company went and managed to arrange some deal with a businessman before we got 10 buses that they came and supported. But as to how much money they have pumped in now under this MVP administration, they've now gone into almost like 50-something million. But if you ask Snit, are you ensuring that STC is profitable? They have representatives on the board. As to what they account next, nothing. Wahome Steel. Snit had investment in Wahome Steel. Today, where is Wahome Steel? And there are so many companies that pensions funds have been moved into. Companies are not doing well. So it is high time that we actually took the Snit leadership also to task and find out how are they managing these investments. Because it's not just a question of people are contributing to pension funds and the money is just coming into your hands and you just decide that you put it here, put it into this, put it this. And then you must also show some interest in whether those monies are earning dividends, are making profits, and those come dividends to the fund. So if you have managers who are not holding these portfolios and giving accounts, that is a failure on the part of Snit. It's not just a failure on the part of those, in this case, this particular case, these hotels. There are people who have been employed inside Snit to do this job. If they are not competent at it, they have to move them to another department where they have competence, or just let them go. And find proper business analysts who can sit there and whose job is constantly look at the papers of these assets and how to help to improve them. This is not government money. This is pensioners' money. People who are contributing for a future. And we must show some seriousness with these funds. As a matter of fact, for me, even the appointment of the MD of Snit should never be made by government. Government should even have a hand because they are the largest employer.
But you know it was in a part of it.
They should not even have a hand in it. Because if it's about government workers, you have the Public Services Commission, you have a union, you have Civil Servants Association, Close-Up Association, who also has a union. So they should have representatives who should be there. And then they employ who becomes their Director General. But we've made sure that we have a presidency in our constitution who has his hands into every single thing and thinks that they can take decisions just because of a certain article that gives the president almost leverage to do anything at all in this country. So you have appointments into positions with people who are politically connected, who are sitting there not seeking the interest and welfare of workers, but of the political class. The board chairperson of Snit, why should he be a politician? Why should he be a politician? And even that person sitting there, she's a journalist. She has no knowledge in investments and how to manage pension funds. So that what knowledge is she even bringing to the table as somebody who's going to sit at the helm of pension funds management? There are bigger issues that have to be addressed with Snit. Me, one day, when I was a little girl, my father told me something. My father said, and I realized something about workers, don't listen to me. This is my father's advice, don't listen to it. It may not help you. It helped me, but may not help you. Because you will not be that disciplined. My father once told me that if as a worker, the only thing you look forward to is your pension contributions, when you go on retirement, you'll be found wanting. So he did a lot of investments. Stocks here, property there, shares here, farms there. And so he spread himself very wide. And I learned that thing from my father. I'm not saying if you can afford, you can choose that life. It is your pension money, how you want your end to be. Me, as I sit here, not many people understand my lifestyle. Me, I'm on early retirement. I've already retired from the public service at my age. And by the grace of God, I took decisions when I was a little girl because of my father and what I had learned from my father. But if I was to be dependent on Snit, hey, by now, I'll be collecting 1,000 Ghana a month. It doesn't even come out my lorry fare for the week.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Let's a quick point before.
Yeah.
You see, we all travel, and we are getting some information that
Is that the
to
It is such a ridiculous policy.
Has come out to say that it must be a joke.
because,
we all hope it is actually.
because if that feel is true,
Another 40 years in the making.
Yeah.
it's so serious. Okobo should, and I think Parliament should do something about it.
They should halt
All right.
it.
Our time
If
is
it
up.
true.
Our time is up. I'll read just 2 messages. Joseph from Tema says, "Hi, Ni. I like the way you present yourself and also how you speak. It makes your presentation very much understandable. More kudos to you." Okay, thank you so much. This one here says, "Very soon MPP will sell Awudome Cemetery." Well, interesting.
Don't be surprised.
Good morning, blessing your panelists. Please, are they selling of the hotels because of losses? Then I'm much interested in Bank of Ghana because they are doing even worse. I'm Kelvin Brown from Brekum. Thanks. All right, thank you so much. Our time is up. I need to get going. Thank you to our cherished viewers. Thank you, Mr. Ristaniama Matthew and Madam Gabriela Tete for your time this morning. It's been a pleasure. I'll catch you same time tomorrow. Do have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.